Somebody broke into the Quality Learning Center, and you're not going to believe what they stole.
Fortunately, we saw that there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone. There were also checkbooks that were ripped from our check papers that were ripped from our book. This is devastating news, and we don't know why this is targeting our Somali community, as one video made by a specific individual made this all happen.
Wow, I can't tell you the number of times I've heard of people breaking into a business only to steal their important documentation, their attendance records, and to rip up their checkbooks. Did the dog eat your homework too? But we know that the media puts this stuff out there because they know that their mindless base will eat it up. And look, they brought somebody with them who would fall for this crap. It's the white liberal woman standing in the background, shaking her head, holding a sign about racism. Loyal to the propaganda, defenders of the crime, ignorant to the truth.
So the Somalis are running around like headless chickens trying to do damage control over this whole fraud situation. Yes, I say headless chickens because first and foremost, they are chickens because they did the fraud, but they don't want to admit that they did the fraud. They are being such cowards about it. Just own up to it. Own it with your chest. You did commit these frauds. You did take advantage of the American people's goodwill and the welfare system that they offered you. And also, I'm saying they are headless because they are not even thinking when they are coming up with their stories. They're just saying anything that comes to their mind because it just doesn't make sense. You're trying to tell me that somebody came to your daycare. Okay, how many times have you ever heard of a burglar or a thief attacking a daycare? Do you think a daycare is something that a burglar would want to attack? And okay, if a burglar for some reason decides that, okay, I'm going to leave the stores where there's money, I'm going to leave houses where there's valuable, I'm going to leave every other place, I'm going to attack a daycare. Yes, I'm going to attack a daycare. And then after I'm going to attack this daycare, I'm not going to steal the tablets that the kids use. No. They are not going to steal the tablets. They are not going to steal the TV that the kids use to listen to Mrs. Rachel and all that things. No, they don't want to steal the TV. What they want to steal, what these burglars really need, what they really need to make it through the winter, what they really need to make it through in life is the documents. Yes. They are going to steal the documents. They're going to steal the documents. I don't know if there's someone out here trading documents for drugs or something. Or I don't know because there's a crackhead out here stealing documents from daycare. So hide your documents. Maybe the rest of the Somalis need to start hiding their documents. Okay, this is just ridiculous. Let's get right into it.
Someone allegedly broke into one of the daycares in Minneapolis and stole their documentation.
Unfortunately, we saw that there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone. There were also checkbooks that were ripped from our check papers that were ripped from our book. This is devastating news, and we don't know why this is targeting our Somali community.
A mysterious burglar broke in and took their important documents. Not computers, not cash, not TVs, just the exact paperwork federal investigators would need. What are the odds? I'll tell you. Better than the odds of finding an actual child at that daycare. And I'm guessing that in this particular case, the getaway vehicle was a paper shredder on wheels.
I want to talk about how the average American is starting to feel as major corruption is being exposed, especially now with the case in Minnesota and the daycare fraud. This is not just about money being stolen anymore. It's about a growing feeling that being a good citizen, being a hardworking person, paying your taxes may not be worth it. People are starting to feel stupid. They think, well, I'm here, I'm playing by the rules, I am working hard, I'm providing for my family, I'm doing the hard work, and I'm the idiot. You see the memes online and we laugh, like, oh, me on my way to work, thinking that I should have just opened a daycare center in Minnesota and made millions. And again, it is funny, but it's also deeply sad. Because the next thing is, why am I even doing this? And that's the part that no one wants to talk about, because this kind of feeling shapes culture. I come from Brazil, as you know, and in Brazil we have this thing we call the Brazilian way, which is the idea that there's always a shortcut, there's always a loophole, a way to take advantage of a situation. And people think it comes out of nowhere. Oh, it's just the Brazilian way of living. No, this comes from years of Brazilian people being robbed and nothing being done with the thieves. So we now think that survival means cheating the system before it cheats you. Eventually, people stop believing that being honest is rewarded. When a society teaches its citizens that being honest makes you a loser, well, that's really dangerous. You don't just lose money. You lose trust. You lose dignity. You lose the culture that holds it all together. And once that's gone, it's really hard to get back.
Dude, you can't make this up. Look, everyone knows Somalians stealing billions of dollars. Everyone thought they were going to get arrested. And then according to this Polymarket chart, 40% of those people don't even think that's going to happen anymore. But today we're talking about Nokomi's Daycare, a Somalian-owned daycare in Minnesota, currently under investigation for defrauding taxpayers. And they were robbed last night, believe it or not. The manager of the daycare had this to say.
Yesterday morning, I was called by the owner because unfortunately someone came in to our daycare. We looked and saw what happened, and we saw that the suspect came in from the back, broke in from the back kitchen, and he also destroyed the wall to come in. As we walked around the daycare, we saw that our office doors was broken into as well. Unfortunately, we saw that there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone. There were also checkbooks that were ripped from our check papers that were ripped from our book. This is devastating news.
And then the burglar screamed, "This is MAGA country," and Obama was there, and everybody clapped. Trust me. Isn't that interesting? The people who robbed the place didn't take money. You know, they didn't take any of the stuff that robbers usually steal. They just conveniently happened to take all of the books, all of the parental records, all of the financial records. That's what these robbers were after. How convenient. And then that's the only record they had. They had one physical copy. That was it. It wasn't backed up to computers or anything. Although, granted, they do have an average IQ of 68, so it's not outside of the realm of possibility that they just maybe don't know how to use computers. But do they think that everybody in the world shares the same average IQ as them? Because who's believing this?
What started as a one-state issue looks like it just turned nationwide potentially, because a second state is involved. Not just Minnesota, where people are pretending to have these daycares and getting millions of dollars in taxpayer money to feed the kids at these daycares. You show up to these daycares, there's not a single child around. Even the daycares where it is saying that they have over 100 children that they feed, and they are getting millions of dollars per year. That was in Minnesota. They have just found the exact same thing happening in Washington, except it's even worse. In Washington, this daycare scam has been going on since at least 2005, and these people aren't even using commercial properties. They're using their home addresses as these daycares. The authorities are now getting involved, and guess what these daycares are doing now? These daycares are holding press conferences now, saying that they were broken into, and the only thing stolen was the documentation for their employees and the kids who attend the daycare.
Unfortunately, someone came in to our daycare, broke in from the back. Unfortunately, we saw that there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone.
The fact that they're blaming this one journalist who proved that their daycare wasn't really a daycare, and something like 70 people have been arrested so far just related to the Minnesota fake daycare scam. Now that it's in Washington and it looks like it's the identical scam, there's no telling how many people are going to get arrested, how many millions they are going to prove has been stolen from taxpayers to feed the kids in these fake daycares.
So again, this place may have been broken into, this Somali-run daycare center, but Minneapolis police have said that nothing was stolen. It's unsurprising what's taking place here. First off, the Somali community only has themselves to blame, considering the fact that 90% of the fraud is being perpetuated by the Somali community. What's happening here is an attempt to try to go and paint one individual, Nick Shirley, who simply created a video exposing what other individuals have already exposed here in Minnesota. Alpha News, Center of the American Experiment, Bill Glahn and Liz Collin, they've already gone and done the same thing that Nick Shirley did, and I'm glad that Nick Shirley went and posted this video. Millions more now understand. But the left's attempt is to go and discredit Nick Shirley and blame him for all the problems while avoiding, no, it's the fraud that's the issue. And isn't it convenient that all of the relevant information needed to hold a daycare center responsible if they were committing fraud has suddenly now been stolen, even though Minneapolis police say that nothing was stolen from this location. Yeah, this is all theater. This is all political theater. And it's a straight up lie what you were watching. And the Somali community, in my opinion, believes that they can go and perpetuate these types of lies, and the Democrats will have their back while they try to change the narrative of the billions of dollars that has gone up in smoke here in Minnesota.
Was broken into as well. We saw that, unfortunately, there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone. There were also checkbooks that were ripped from our check papers that were from our...
So you're telling me that someone broke into a daycare center and the only thing that they took were the enrollment documents and the employment documents, two vital keys of evidence for the feds. That's the only thing they took, and they chose to break in through the back? And also, hold on, real quick. Is my man's wearing chrome heart glasses? He's wearing chrome heart glasses while he's out here making this excuse. You really can't make this up. These are like $3,000.
You can't make this shit up.
We looked and saw what happened, and we saw that the suspect came in from the back, broke in from the back kitchen, and he also destroyed the wall to come in. As we walked around the daycare, we saw that our office doors was broken into as well. We saw that, unfortunately, there was important documentation, enrollment of the children, and also employee documentation that was gone. There were also checkbooks that were ripped from our check papers that were from our book.
Oh no, someone broke in and stole all the evidence of fraud from the Somali pirates. Yeah, because you're telling me that someone broke in to this fraudulent business area, which happened to be a daycare center, and of everything of value that's in this daycare center, they broke in and stole the documentation, enrollment papers of all the students, right? On top of that, they took the checkbook. So the one thing that could show exactly who's been getting these checks and for what amount, that's what you're trying to convince us to believe. No computers, no tablets, nothing that a crackhead could use to get re-up on their high. Boy, get the fuck up out of here with that bullshit. And who's that liberal white lady in the back saying? You must be saying, ain't no way nobody gonna believe that shit. 'Cause ain't no way nobody gonna believe that shit. Boy, I'm telling you, only someone with an IQ of about 50 can come up with this kind of shit. I swear to fucking God, bruh.
So a Somalian daycare in Minnesota is now claiming that their records were stolen that pertain to child enrollment and employee information due to the YouTube video that Nick made claiming that the daycares were fraud. They claim the suspect broke a small hole into the wall to get in, then proceeded to steal paperwork pertaining to child enrollment, employees, and payroll. But police did say that on their report they claimed that nothing was stolen. Now they're blaming the YouTuber Nick for this happening, stating that since he made these videos, they have been receiving harassment through phone calls, and now the community is being targeted for fraud when they have not been doing such things. Other businesses are now claiming that they have also been receiving harassment calls. Also, all child care money going to Minnesota has been frozen by the Department of Health and Human Services. Now you have people asking, why would a burglar go steal those type of documents? While others are saying that Basically, Nick has now caused harassment for the community because he was pushing narratives that just were not true.
I'm really not going to say much about this because honestly, the jokes write themselves. This whole thing, they are not even trying with their stories and they're all trying to explain how they don't have documents. Their whole damage control process is just, it's lazy. That's all I'm going to say. It's lazy. And I'm guessing that's meaning because these people have been able to go years, they've been able to go decades with scamming the American people, with scamming the American welfare. And they've been able to do all this unchecked. They've been able to go years scamming the American public of billions of dollars unchecked. So they think the American public are not the smartest. They think we are dumb. They think people out here are dumb. And they think we are just going to believe anything they say. They think we are just going to take them out on face value and believe them because you really want me to believe that someone came into your daycare at night to steal your documents. At this point, the next story we are going to hear is that the reason why there were no kids when Nick Shirley came in was because the kids were all stolen as well. Yes, that's the next story we are going to hear. So the Somalis out here, take this story up. That's your next excuse. When Nick Shirley came up, the kids were stolen. The burglar came in at night and stole all the kids. So by the morning, when Nick Shirley came in the morning, in the daytime, in the afternoon, there was no kids because the burglar stole them. They didn't just steal the documents, they stole the kids. Okay, I'm just your situation is funny. I'm not going to take it seriously. I cannot take this seriously. So, if you found this video interesting or just funny, just give it a thumbs up if you found it funny, because I do find the whole situation funny. And also subscribe to the channel. This is a brand new channel and I really need your support to grow the channel. So subscribe to support me. And also check out this video right here.